bunch of people that jumped in here. Well, they're all gone now. It was really funny because at the beginning of that, I think there were like 4 viewers in the chat room, and the number slowly dwindled. A couple of goofballs just.
That's how it is.
Yeah. I had the intro music into post when we do the professional thing on the iTunes, but it's not so professional on the stream. All right, are you ready to get started?
I am, young sir.
Right. The exclamation mark episode 34 begins in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, and welcome to the Exclamation Mark podcast. My name is Crofton Steers. I am the Bernie Sanders of this podcast, if you will. And with me, as always, every episode, Bo Schwartz, my Donald Trump. Donald?
Hello, how are you guys doing today? I'm going to tell you something. I'm smart, and you're not. And I got a lot of money, and you don't. And I got a lot of money because I made the art of the deal. I know the art of the deal. I'm doing a terrible Trump. Like, that's like, got to be the worst Trump.
Donald, are you rich? The 1%. Donald?
I don't know anything about 1%. I'm just huge. People like me. I'm huge. I love the Latinos. And the Latinos, they love me.
They love Trump.
Oh, Trump. It'll be interesting to see if he ever, gets into office, or if he even wins that running, because it's going to be an entertaining couple of months.
I think that not only will he not win, I think that it's fun to project what's going to happen after, because he will have built himself into an even bigger star than he was previously. Huge, if you will, star. And so he's going to find ways to then capitalize on that. Just look at Sarah Palin and how she became this crazy reality show. Now, Trump was from reality shows, but Sarah Palin got her own shows. What if Trump got his own video games? This is what I'm thinking.
Way to tie it into our theme of our podcast.
Donald Trump themed video games. You could have one. It could be like a wall building game. Maybe Tetris. It'd be like a Tetris ripoff, except the background would be Mexico, and then you put the blocks down to build the wall between the U.S. and Mexico. Except the lines wouldn't disappear, though.
So I'd like to, because I have the power of Google in front of me, and I know it's kind of not fair, but I did Google Donald Trump video game and came up with the Wikipedia page for Donald Trump's Real Estate Tycoon. What a great franchise to be a part of. I'm pretty sure he knows absolutely nothing about what's happening in this game other than, I slapped my name on it. It's going to be huge. Except it wasn't huge, I don't think.
But I'm telling you, he could have a huge market afterwards. Anything related to his presidential run, he could have one where, it's it'd be one of those sim games like Civilization or Sim City, except you have to find immigrants and get them deported. That'd be sweet.
Wow, that sounds horrible. Okay, well,
it's the news du jour, Bo. Even us Canadians, we can acknowledge that Trump dominates the media.
Sure.
So,
well, he doesn't dominate video games yet, and I don't think he ever will.
Hopefully not. Let's talk about what is dominating video games. And by that I mean what's in the news this week in a segment that Bo and I collectively together like to call readme.txt.
readme.txt.
And the 6.6 sounds of a 2400 baud modem dialing up to the information superhighway. Welcome.
It's funny how that sound at one point is going to become lost in time. Nobody's going to.
It may be lost in time now.
It's not. It's totally not.
There's young folk joining us on Twitch, and they happen to come in at this time. They're like, well, "What is that sound?"
Maybe. I think there's a bunch of people that still know, though. Once our generation is past,
It's not thanks to
lost forever.
computers. It's thanks to Hollywood and using that sound to connect to the internet in countless films.
I remember connecting to BBSs through that sound.
Yeah, I had a really shitty online persona. It was very bad. I was young, though. Mistakes were made. So, what do we have? What do we want to talk about today this week? I know what I want to talk about first of all, because I'm a nut for this game. Overwatch release date confirmed for May 24th, about 2 months and a half away. If you pre-order, you'll get beta access.
Oh, really?
Ahead of the open beta, on May 3rd and 4th. So 2 whole days of early access for you and a friend. So $39.99 American. You buy the game, you get the 2-day early open beta access, and then there's going to be an all access period from May 5 to 9. Noticeably quite short of an open beta. Yeah,
it's not long. I guess the idea is with these, and I saw that with Star Wars Battlefront 2. I guess they just don't want you to burn out. Like, they don't want you to be like, have had your fill of the game before you even shell out money.
It's true. It's this weird like world we live in where like beta is a thing that all big titles now are sort of you kind of like, I'm hearing a lot of games like Division, like all kinds of games have these betas now, and so it feels like they're doing it because it's what people want, and I guess there's a hype associated with it too. Like you play a little bit.
When I got into the Battlefront beta, it tempered my excitement for that game. Afterwards, I was like, well, I'm not really into it. Whereas I might have bought it previously on an impulse after seeing the movie, I had played enough of it where I was like, yeah, I don't think so.
It's a real risk, but I think in Blizzard's case, they've got a pretty big hit on their hands. So, for them, it's okay, but it can be a roll of the dice depending on the game, and so. But
we'll have to talk more about this Overwatch game perhaps later in the program.
Sure, because I've been playing it.
Surprise!
Lucky Palmer fires shots at Apple. I like this Lucky Palmer guy. He's such an awkward goofball. So reporters asked him, "Hey Lucky, will Oculus ever come to Mac?" And Palmer says, "Why, that is up to Apple. And if they ever release a good computer, we will do it." He goes on to say that even a high-end $6,000 computer can't meet the recommended specs. So the shots fired aspect is if they ever release a good computer, which I think he sort of spoke out of turn, but I also think he meant it. Like, just all of us, it's like they're shit computers for gaming, like, clearly. But he's a CEO, right? So, yeah.
It's funny because on one hand, they are shit for gaming. Like, if you're a gamer, you're probably not going to go with a Mac computer. On the other hand, it's funny because, like if you go on CNET or any of the review sites and you do, like, top laptops or top anything, often the Apple version is at the top or near the top because for what they're trying to do, they tend to build super high-quality computers. So it is funny to hear them say shit or, like, that they're not making a good computer. The thing I'm curious about, Bo, or I don't get is the $6,000 thing. So is he saying like that's what, like, for a PC, if I wanted to meet the recommended Oculus specs, that I would need a $6,000 PC?
Well, I mean, it's just that the high price point computers are the ones that have the NVIDIA cards in them and things like that, but they still apparently don't meet what Oculus needs. There was another little quote too from the DayZ guy, Dean Hall, who was saying, like, VR, it's important to have a consistent frame rate because if you get frame rate drops and performance hits, it can be disorienting. It can be hurt, like vomit styles and that kind of thing. And that does happen when I'm moving around on my Oculus and all of a sudden there's a stop in, like, let's say the game freezes and it's just a static image. It's actually like it creates an imbalance, like you're disoriented for a good second or two. And I have a pretty good stomach, so I handle that okay, but I could see people just making them sick.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I know what lag is, and to have that in an Oculus setting, a VR setting, that would drive me nuts. But the thing is he, like, that 6,000, and the reason I come back to it is, like, I think you talk to most people, they will tell you they can build a PC, a really powerful gaming PC, for like $2,000-$3,000. 6,000. Do you think he was taking a playful shot at Apple's overpricedness? Like for Apple to create a PC that would be that good, they'd have to charge $6,000 for it? Or is he legitimately saying if you want recommended specs on the Oculus, you need to fork out $6,000?
No, they don't support PC. I think the Oculus is not a Mac platform device. So, because he's being asked, like, will it come to Mac, or will you develop firmware, I suppose, or whatever you call the app in your system tray, the drivers, will they be developed for the Mac platform? Because they have to be developed specifically for that, and they won't. So, maybe somebody will come along and do drivers, like a third-party open source kind of deal, but officially they won't. Just because it's not worth it for, like, what percentage of the Mac buyers have $6,000 computers? Probably not a very big percentage.
Yeah.
So not worth it for them to do. Sad news, I think. Fable Legends canceled. Well, I kind of didn't care, and maybe that's why it got canceled. Just as one user, I was like, But it seemed like it looked good. And also, Lionhead Studios closes. So this is the studio that brought the classic Fable and Fable 2 to, Xbox and to PCs.
They did PC games before that. That was the Peter Molyneux stable, like with Black and White. I think they did this game called The Movies. I remember trying to get kids to play this when I ran a day camp long time ago to make movies. But yeah, they made a lot of stuff. But it feels like that Fable Legends was at least pretty close to being done. I think it was even in beta.
Yeah, I saw something about we propagated an update to the current beta somewhere on Twitter or something like that. So it was well enough along, and I think the Fable team didn't know that this was coming. I think this was a shock to the people working there.
It just seems like, why, if you have invested all this money in this thing, it doesn't even have to be great. Like, there's a lot of mediocre games, a lot of which that make money. Why would you just not release that game? Like, release that. If you're in beta, release the game. See if it makes money. If you're planning on closing the studio anyway, what does it matter? Like, I mean, if it gets 4 out of 10 on Metacritic, who cares? Like, it's not damaging your brand. If anything, that would allow you to close the studio easier. You could be like, well, look, they spent a lot of our time and money making this shitty game, so we're gonna close the studio. Instead, they're preemptively closing. It feels kind of douchey. And honestly, I saw their message, and it was very nice. And they said they're going to help Lionhead employees find a job. But it makes me sad because I played Fable 1 and 2 in particular, and I really liked them. It's super British in its tone and temperament and flavor, and I really appreciated that. So I'm sad to see, like, they might get other jobs in other companies, but we're losing sort of a flavor of video games.
Yeah, I think they had a unique, space, and I think people admired them a lot, even if you didn't really play their games. I loved the first Fables, especially. They were quite good, and I don't kind of know what happened. Fable 3, it seemed like it had a lot of production value, but it kind of sucked at the same time. Like, it was hard to put,
I own it, but I haven't played it, actually.
It's hard to put my finger on, like, what it is. It's a very ambitious game, but the thing is that, like, it felt janky. Like, the mechanics feel janky, and the things you do kind of don't feel like satisfying gameplay elements, And so maybe I felt like maybe that's indicative of sort of their internal culture about the games that they produce, because I think, people aren't, the fan base for Fable is not huge. It's not palpable considering other game IPs that are out there, and it might have led to why that they're closing down, is they're just not able to capture that. And I think there's a real gap in their gameplay, in making engaging gameplay, even though they have great production values and great script writing, like all the other stuff they hit high marks on, but the gameplay just wasn't there. And they
did a remake recently of Fable 1. I'm not sure if that was Lionhead or it was a third-party studio or whatever, but like Microsoft probably had sales numbers associated to that, and we're like, okay, man, maybe the appetite for more Fable isn't as high as we thought it was. So when the original Fable came out, it came out for the original Xbox at a time when the original Xbox was not the shit, if you will. Like, PlayStation 2 was killing it. GameCube had a cult audience. Halo 1 had come out. I'm not sure if Halo 2 was out. By the time Xbox, the original Xbox, died, they had a niche audience, but they didn't have one at the time of the original Fable's release. So I want to say that probably there's not as many people that played the original Fable when it came out as there was that played, say, PlayStation 2 games. And so because of that, that's probably harmed its lifespan in the where we're at, where we find ourselves now, where there's probably like people like you and I who had original Xboxes think back fondly to it, are like, oh yeah, we like Fable, we'd play another Fable. But there's probably a ton of people that are like, I don't know about this, So
Yeah, it also went weird directions too when it brought like weird guns, and I don't know. I kind of like the more core fantasy of Fable 1 over the direction it went, which is like this modernization take with the other one. But anyway, sad to see them go regardless. Not that sad, because I'm like, I wasn't looking forward to anything from them, but they are a notable company and it is a notable game. You have to give Fable 1 and 2 credit.
And it's not a bland studio either. It was a studio with an identity, like, whereas there's some studios out there, like, often, the name of the company plus a city name, like, no offense, Sony Santa Monica or 2K Sydney or whatever, but like these are they live less in my mind than something like Lionhead, which is a good name for a British company. That Fable 2 in particular left a big impression with me. But as I said, I own Fable 3 and I never started it up, so it couldn't have been, I couldn't care that much.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about the identity of a certain brands, especially when they're boutique-like or they have very specific notes that they hit. All right, well, No Man's Sky has a price and a release date. We've been talking about this game a lot over the past year. The price is $60 US, which is kind of insane. The release date's June 21. Well, it's been forever that this game's supposed to be coming out, so what's a couple more months? But 60. I was expecting this to be an indie game, i.e., not $60, but like 20, 30.
Well, they have a middle price range now, because I looked at it in Steam in Canada, because in Canada games have reached crazy prices because of the dollar and stuff. Yeah. So like a game that's normally, I guess, $60 in the States is normally, it's like $80. Like if you look at an Assassin's Creed or whatever, it's like $79.99 or something crazy now is what they're at. So but I looked at No Man's Sky and it was not that expensive. Like it was like $65 Canadian or something.
$66.49 Canadian.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of even though that's as much as we used to pay for games, it's not at the top end of the price spectrum. Right. So it's aiming a little lower, but I think they probably think that they've got so much good publicity, so much hype surrounding that game. They're like, might as well charge this much. They'll probably drop the price at one point, but they probably feel that there's a lot of early adopters that will pay a high price, and that development costs were probably quite expensive as well. So we'll see. But I'm excited for that game, but it's a game that I'm going to want to see the reviews for. There's a few games that I buy blind, very few, but like No Man's Sky is definitely one. I'm going to just wait to see what the reviews are, and if the reviews are sterling, I might buy that really early, and I may pay the $60. But if they're like 7 out of 10, whatever reviews, I might just wait until it gets cheap. So I'm not like chomping at the bit for it.
I guess it's okay in the wake of like it being this felt like a game you download over like PSN or whatever. Like,
I think it is.
It just yeah. So, but at that price point, it should be a box copy that you get. Like, this is just a downloadable game on consoles. Like, that seems like out of whack to spend $70 on a downloadable only game that doesn't have a box version of it, I suppose.
But like we do that all the time on Steam. Like, I mean, consoles are getting to that space. I think that's going to have a boxed version now, and I think it has kind of like sort of moved from where it was originally planned to be. I think development costs probably skyrocketed, but I think most of all they got a sense of the anticipation and attention. Like Stephen Colbert had them on. Like there's been a lot of people have put their imagination into the possibilities of this game, and I think that they know they've got to hit high, so they probably ramped up even more development, and so in the end they're trying to make back costs and stuff. I think that they probably have done market research to get a sense of what the early adopters, what a good price point is for early adopters. I tell you, I bet you, unless it's like a total cult game or a game that just gets such high reviews that they're able to keep the price high, I bet you by December you're able to get it for $20.
Yeah, well, let's hope so, because like on principle, I don't want to pay this amount. Like I'm getting Overwatch for $40. How is this more money? Like, it seems like it's a smaller team. I mean, that's not to say there isn't a lot of hard work poured into this, but it just sort of seems insane. Now, mind you, there's scale. You can charge lower when you're a company with scale, and this is like an unproven product.
Yeah, but it's all different mindsets though, because you made the Overwatch comparison. No Man's Sky has gotten infinitely more publicity than Overwatch, so by all intents and purposes, I would expect it to be a more expensive game. But I understand what you're saying. You're saying it looks like a smaller studio. You already know what the value proposition is of Overwatch. We still don't know with No Man's Sky, but it was originally pitched as kind of a downloadable game. So, but we'll, I want to support game development of this innovative nature. So I'm willing to shell out if the reviews are good. But if it turns out to be a mediocre game, then I'll only buy it cheap, if at all.
It's strange. It's because it looks like it has more, but it sounds like it has less, like a procedurally random generated universe for $80 or $65 versus Elite Dangerous for $80, with an actual just universe, not procedurally generated, but a gigantic universe. And same with Star Citizen, people are paying a lot more for it, but just feels like in the space exploration genre, this seems like it's big, but only because they procedurally generated it, which means they didn't painstakingly develop everything for it. A computer randomly generated it based on a bunch of parameters. But I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you. We'll wait and see. Although for me, this seems like a sale game now, personally, just because of that price.
It's huge, Bo. It's huge.
It's huge. Mass Effect Andromeda pushed to 2017. No surprise there. Take all the time you need to make a good Mass Effect game. I like Mass Effect. No reason really given, but I'm just sure the studio's probably busy. So
I just assume now with these games that they're going to get bumped. Honestly, especially when something is announced for the fourth quarter of a year or something around Christmas, I'm like, there's no chance they're going to hit it. It's always going to get moved to the following year, and then now you're seeing a bunch of games in the spring or even around this time that are bumped. Say what you will about Ubisoft, but they will always hit their date. They will always hit their date. Like Far Cry Primal, they announced it fairly late in the game. They said when it was coming out, it came out. Mass Effect Andromeda, it's like they never set a date. They just said probably late 2016, so it's not really a big deal that it's coming out in 2017, but it's sort of what I expect now.
But it allows those companies to bring things to market, to trade shows.
Oh.
Because they can't be like, oh, we're gonna have this game, it's gonna be in 5 years. But if they're like, oh, it's gonna be in 2 years, no, wait, another year. And then
but
maybe
Mass Effect Andromeda,
months.
How long have they been announcing?
Watch Dogs did that, right?
What?
Watch Dogs did that.
I know, and it killed them. Don't announce it so far in advance, because we still know nothing really about Mass Effect Andromeda. There's been a couple of teasers. That's it. We really know nothing about gameplay and all that. And maybe that's their stratagem. They're going with announce the game early, but don't show anything for a really long time. Just let people know that it's coming, and then because Fallout 4 is the example of announce right before E3, come out November of that year, sell bazillion copies. And I feel like that's what I want to see now. I don't want to be waiting super long time for the games that I see at E3 in a given year.
Yeah, I think I hate waiting too. I hate getting all this hype built up only for things to get pushed back. So speaking of waiting, Uncharted
4 just got re-delayed. This is the third delay. This time, and the thing about Uncharted though in the delays is they're more annoying because where it says Mass Effect Andromeda pushed to 2017. Uncharted has like firm dates. Like they're like, no, we are coming out this day, and then it's a literal delay. It's like, oh, sorry, this is the new date.
They haven't opened up pre-orders, have they?
I don't know. I would assume so. Yes, I think you can pre-order Uncharted 4. And I think that was like there was a beta recently, and I think that pre-ordering helped get in. Although I could be mistaken. The thing though is Uncharted 4 is like probably is Sony's most anticipated game of the year. Like it's going to be a huge release. And their reasoning they're given for these 2 extra weeks is they were just saying like, look, we think it's going to sell a bajillion copies, so to ensure everybody gets one on day 1, we're delaying it 2 weeks to manufacture more. And that's fair. Like it's still a primarily disc-based game. Like people are going to go out and buy the disc for that more. But I feel like in the digital age where people can buy from the PlayStation Store and stuff, don't do that. Like just sell out and tell people buy it online or wait for a resupply. Like I find it kind of annoying. Like the game will be done essentially 2 weeks before it comes out or earlier. And they're just not going to release it because they want to print more copies. I find that annoying.
Yeah.
It's not like one of those. It's got to be perfect. Like Mass Effect could be. They're going to develop more on it. Here, they're not developing more. It's just another delay to print more copies. It's weird.
Yeah, that is kind of annoying. And yeah, you can pre-order it incidentally. So, but the bundle is expected to be available in 50 days on 26/4/26.
I got to tell my mom. She's supposed to buy it for me.
Oh, yeah? You have a promised copy?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Thanks, Mom.
That one will be worth it. It's irritating when you pre-order something that is, not worth
I never pre-order. The only reason I'm pre-ordering Uncharted is because of the immense amount of trust that Naughty Dog has garnered with me, and also the fact that my mom's is buying it for me.
So it's her money, so who cares? Like if if there's any problems, it's like no loss for you.
Right.
All right. Well,
so the other game that's just come out recently, it's got a lot of attention, is Far Cry Primal. Yeah. And I mentioned it earlier, and I played Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4, so I'm kind of Far Cry'd out. It's only been a year and a half since the last one.
Right.
But I thought that this was cool in what it was trying to do. They developed like their own language. The whole game is in this different old like Cro-Magnon type language. It's all you're playing as a caveman, and there's really not that many games where you play as a caveman or you play in olden times. I remember playing this game on PC when I was a kid called Joe and Mac Caveman Ninjas.
What?
It was awesome. Sweet, dude. You should check it out. It was really fun. Ninjas. It had sick VGA graphics at the time.
Wow. That's due for a remake.
It was by like Data East or something. It was like one of these arcadey type games. Anyway, it was pretty awesome. But I can't think of a recent game that's set. Like, there's games like, what's that one on Steam that's in early access where you ride dinosaurs or some shit? Like
Ark.
Yeah, but that's like a science fiction. It's not set. It's not a set in caveman times or whatever. So I really like what they did here. However,
are you playing it?
No. I'm not going to play it.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why I'm not going to play it. 2 reasons. One, I'm Far Cry'd out for the moment.
Yeah.
And 2, it's like I've lamented this before, and I partially respect it, but like, you know how I say there's new sequels and then there's quick and dirty sequels? I'm sure I've said that to you, maybe not on the show before. The quick and dirty sequels are generally the ones that are pumped out a year later using the same assets as the previous one.
Yeah, because Far Cry 4 was pretty recent, right?
Yeah, it was a year and a half.
And it's kind of in terms of the news or what you hear, it's kind of in who caresville at this point, in a way.
Well, Well, see, what's happened here is that this guy on Reddit released this. He took a screenshot of the map of Far Cry 4 and he contrasted it with the map of Far Cry Primal, and it became clear that it was the same map, except that it was like it had been like tinkered with, you know. And there's different things that have been added, but it's the same like base layer of the map. And people were like crying foul right off, being like, "Oh, lazy bastards!" No.
Yeah.
But at the same point, part of me wants to say that, but another part of me is kind of like, well, you know, they've created a whole new language, a whole new gameplay mechanics. They've done all this crazy shit. They've done a lot for your sequel money. And back in the day, like on PC, there were quick and dirty sequels all the time, like Ultima Underworld 2, like that stuff. Doom 2, like that's what they were quick and dirty sequels using the assets of the previous game. People are really spoiled right now, but at the same time, it does temper my excitement. So I look at it and I'm like, oh, okay. I already feel like I've played too much Far Cry. Now they're telling me like, oh, this is Far Cry slightly tweaked.
Yeah.
Except in old man times.
I think. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Finish.
No, it just affects my enthusiasm.
Because I think you bring up the games you bring up like back in the day, like they use the same assets. These games have like an incredible amount of assets, and they are quick and dirty, but they also designed to demand a bunch of your time, mostly like with the online mode and stuff. Like if Far Cry 3, because I started Far Cry 3 and I'm like, I just can't do this. This is like a Skyrim level of investment. It felt like, you know,
yeah, it is Skyrim with guns.
And I just wasn't in the mood for it, and I just never came back to it. I didn't buy Blood Dragon. So assuming I wanted that, like, you'd have to play a lot of that game and then look forward to 4, which came out, I guess, 2 years later if you don't count the Blood Dragon came out in 2013. So
there's been a lot of Far Cry for sure since Ubisoft reinvented it with Far Cry 3.
It's kind of like they have a release once a year, except this was a bit late. Like they didn't have a Far Cry release in 2015, but
no,
I don't know.
They also had a year break between 3 and 4, but 4 is remarkably similar to 3. It was when I got the PlayStation 4, it was one of the games I got with it, and I put in a lot of time. You may remember Jeff and I on an early episode of EXM were talking about the virtues of Far Cry 4, because honestly, it is a lot of fun, but there's a lot of Me Too fetch questing and a lot of extra content just for the sake of content. And at the end, I was like, okay, I'm done with this. And not only am I done with it, I don't feel like playing another experience like it anytime soon. This is going to be foreshadowing the game that I'm playing right now, incidentally, which I will mention later. But Far Cry Primal is, again, like something that I'll look at on sale, but I feel like it's something I may never play. And if you are playing it and you love it and you think it's better than all the other Far Cries, or you think that even somebody who's really invested a bunch of time in Far Cries would be interested in playing this, like send us an email, let me know, hit me up on Twitter. I would like to hear from you, but for me it looks like been there, done that, got the postcard.
Yeah. Make Crysis 3 already, goddammit.
There is a Crysis 3.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean Crysis 4. Sorry, I played 3. Make Crysis 4.
The last thing I was going to mention is the HTC Vive was announced, which is the Oculus Rift's... pricing was announced, which is the Oculus Rift's main competitor, and the PC space anyway. And it was announced like at $800 American, which, if you're keeping score at home, is more expensive than the already expensive Oculus Rift. The deal is that it does come with like some sort of touch input device, like something for your hands, as opposed to having to buy, like Oculus Touch is going to be coming later this year, and prices have yet to be announced. So that is, who knows what the value proposition of that's going to be. I'm really curious to figure out, because I'm going to be buying one of these things. I'm really curious to figure out like what if there's going to be a quality difference, if like a game that's designed for, say, Oculus Rift will play just as well in the same manner with the HTC Vive, or will it be like trying to stick a Genesis game into a Super Nintendo? You know, like say Lucky's Tale is a bundled game that's coming out with the Oculus Rift, plays even on the name of Palmer Lucky, Lucky Palmer, whatever his name is. If I got the HTC Vive and I downloaded Lucky's Tale or whatever, could I play it? Would it work with that? You know, I'm unclear on this sort of stuff, and I hope it's not it's not going to become like a console race where certain games only work with one of the techs. You know,
I think your instinct is right, and I encourage you to like keep thinking that, because I know from experience games that are developed for even different versions of the Oculus as SDK tend to break. And I think Oculus is trying to come up with something uniform, like, you know, drivers. So it's entirely feasible that a program that's really popular, if it's not optimized for Vive, then it wouldn't run. The biggest thing for me, I couldn't believe that they're going to charge $1,200 for this. I mean, I know it's going to be more expensive.
It's $800.
On the store, on the Steam store, if you go to Vive, it's $1,149.
Is that Canadian?
Yep. That's the Canadian price.
Because they announced it this week, and it was. I'm pretty sure it's
I think that's
$800 is the number going around. Yeah, it's high, but like the Oculus is high too, right? Like, I mean, once you're into that, I guess price range.
For me, it's that it hit the thousand. Like, it's not that like it's a lot of my dollars. It is, but it's a lot. It's a lot. Like, you want to put this thing in as many people's hands. They're
yeah, $799 American dollars, and oh yeah, it says will cost $1,149 in Canada. Yeah, I definitely. There's a big difference between $800 and $1,150. Like, even though I understand the Canadian price.
There's something about that number that is just a complete like. I have one of those things. Like, even if it's a slicked up version of it, it doesn't look like it should. Like, consider. I know that it's a loss leader to buy an Xbox or PlayStation at that price. But that's the market we live in. Like, to me, it makes my brain do somersaults to buy a peripheral for over $1,000. This is the whole reason, the whole promise of the Oculus thing in the first place was to put affordable VR in homes. And they're already kind of skirting that line Oculus is. I guess it's going to cost that much for us to get the other one. Like, to me, this is kind of a big... This is going to be a big hurdle to overcome in the years to come about getting it into people's hands and making it available. We live in a world where cell phones can be procured for free or for a couple $100, even with a contract. But there's a plan to get it in people's hands from a business standpoint. This isn't a way to get it into people's hands except the most hardest core of the core.
But that could be that could be the case, because where they know that they're getting these early adopters. Because think about like stuff like Blu-ray players, right? When you can get them super cheap now, but when they first came out, it was like a crazy expensive. And so maybe there is like this window where they're trying to get the most out of the early adopters to back up some of their costs, and then the price will drop astronomically, almost like glorified beta testers that are willing to pay the mad bank, you know. Yeah. So
it's $599 for the Oculus, which translates into $797 Canadian.
The Vive doesn't even translate properly. Like, they're overcharging on top of the exchange rate for Canada. So like it's not. It's even more expensive than the American version, and with the conversion rate taken into account. Apologies to any American listeners, but we're Canadian, so man, this conversion rate shit is driving us nuts.
Yeah, it's bad.
We need Donald Trump to make Canada great again.
I will say that the Rift looks like a more quality product, just based on the pictures I've seen. Although I would be
surprised if it's higher quality than the.
I don't mean quality of design. I mean quality of like components and stuff. Like, I'm sure they're both going to provide a quality product, but I look at the way that the headset design, the way it sits on your head for the Vive, and the Vive looks like it'd be more stable. I don't know. Everything looks sleeker, but that's all marketing, so it doesn't really matter.
Marketing.
Yeah.
Well, Bo, speaking of marketing, let's market ourselves by talking about the games that we're playing. And we'll do that in a segment that we have devised for that very purpose. It is called Games Per Minute.
You're always talking about making kids' minds like vegetables. Talk about them out on the street smoking pot.
This is Games Per Minute.
How do you feel about cutting his head off? One.
This is Games Per Minute. I'm Crofton. This is Bo. Bo, what are you playing?
Same old, same old. Been playing Heroes of the Storm. New character got released, Zool, and I finally catching up with Li Ming. I haven't been playing as much Heroes because I've been distracted with Overwatch. Pretty much mostly been playing Overwatch, just getting back last week to starting to play Heroes again.
It's funny how you're like same old, but really like you've probably played a ton of Overwatch since we last talked.
Yes.
But really we've only talked about it maybe once on this show previously.
I'm level maybe 80 now. Player level
Holy
80
shit.
in the beta. It's all going to get wiped for sure.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is when you level up, you get a loot crate. And starting at a certain level between 20 and 30, it doesn't take more XP to level. It's always 22,000 experience. You get between 1,000 to 3,500 XP per match. So it actually goes pretty quick. But yeah, it's getting those loot crates, man. It's sweet. That's the one thing we haven't talked about with Overwatch, or maybe we did, but the loot crates. Like, they're going to charge for the loot crates.
But the loot crates are like, so what are they? Are they designed stuff?
So they're like Hearthstone packs. So what you unlock in the loot crates, which you get for free by leveling up, and you can level up infinitely, so there's never a point you stop. You get skins.
Okay.
You can get voice emotes.
Okay.
Voice emotes for your character. You can get actual emotes where your guy does like a thing, a dance. You get poses at the end of the match. The winning team all does a pose, so you can modify your pose. Also, when you get play of the game, you can get a highlight intro. So, like when I play McCree, at first he'd just stand there and chew on some straw and look at the screen.
Yeah.
But then I got this badass one where it's his back to the camera and a tumbleweed blows by and he's got his hand out to his side like he's ready to draw. And then he pulls around and draws, and the camera zooms in on his face. And he's all like, "Urgh." He's all like tough looking, and it says, "Play the game, Gorath as McCree." It's
that's good. Honestly, that sounds like all good stuff because it's all flavor stuff. It's nothing that's going to affect how the game plays, right?
Zero impact on game. It's all just cosmetic stuff. But there's a lot of it.
But it's interesting cosmetic stuff.
Yeah, it has like. Some of them are really cool looking. Like there's a lot of extra passion put into some of these crazy skins that they have. But mostly I like the highlight reels. When I get play of the game, I like rubbing it in everybody's face. And what better way to rub it in their face to also have the highlight? Like Farah, who shoots rockets, she goes rocket barrage and she shoots like 1,000 rockets and it looks all badass.
Question: how often, percentage-wise, do you get play the game? I feel like you play a lot.
There's actually stats to tell you how many times. I don't get it every game, but I get it often.
Yeah.
Especially when I play McCree. McCree is my man. So if I'm good with one character or simpatico with one character, it's McCree. He's got a 6-shooter called the Peacemaker.
Yeah.
And it's always accurate. So like, you know how we play shooter games? Like PlanetSide is hard to shoot the sniper scope because there's sway.
Yeah.
When you play the sniper in this game, there's no sway. You're Widowmaker. You're amazing. You don't have to fight these things. There are other mechanics to combat it being OP, but there's never a sense of swaying. So with this 6-shooter, you can actually shoot people from far away, and it's really accurate. But you only get 6 shots. And then with your
what happens when you run out of 6 shots?
You reload, but you spin the gun, and as you spin the gun, all the bullets fly out, and then you in your hand you're holding like 6 bullets, and you just pop them all in at the same time and close the thing and go and roll the thing. Remember we've talked about PlanetSide and how what your criticism of 2 was that in 1 they showed you animations of you getting into vehicles and there's a lot of nice touches.
It's just more immersive, right?
Right. There is a ton of love poured onto like all the like you're not just reloading a gun as any character. There's like a lot of deliberate thought into how the reload like all the artistic and things you're seeing and visual things that bleed into the fantasy. Like It's crazy. It's real good.
That's because what they're doing is they're working off the MOBA mentality of selling you these heroes. Like they're selling you the idea you want for each one you buy. Then there's more costumes to buy. There's more all sorts of stuff. It's like the Star Citizen in the ships. Like all the interior is designed to differentiate them and to show all the TLC and all the different things that you can do. So I think that's why they have all that there because.
But it's remember it's a box price and that's it though. You don't buy any heroes.
Yet
it's $40 and you buy it and they have no plans for it. It could be, but
they're going to have, if they don't sell individual heroes, they will sell expansion packs, and they're totally the flair of the loading and all that sort of stuff. That's sort of like. Again, it could be something eventually they buy like new ways of reloading, or whatever, like as a cosmetic animation, right? Yeah, Mo's like, I buy them all. Oh my god!
I would like Genji is a robot ninja, right? And he throws he throws. He's a cyber ninja. He throws shurikens. But what's great, like he holds them in his in his fingers, between his fingers, the three of them. So his clip, he has always three, and he throws three at once, or he shoots 1, 2, 3. What's awesome is that your reload is that your sleeve opens up because you're a robot, and then some animation happens inside of his arm, and then the shurikens like get fed back to your fingers. Like it's so slick, dude. I can't wait for you to play this game. You're gonna I find something to really like about this, even though you're not a big Blizzard guy. The characters are real cool.
I talked about Rocket League and how I enjoyed Rocket League, and it was the first multiplayer game that got me in with that sort of fun quotient, and I didn't feel like I was getting outclassed all the time, and I didn't. So I ended up really enjoying it, and I really enjoyed how it would fit in with my lifestyle and I'd go back to it. And I like Hearthstone, but like I just at a certain point I was like, I'm kind of done with this game, and so I feel like Overwatch will be something that I will look forward to giving it a try to anyway.
The fun thing about Overwatch is also it's very drop in and drop out friendly, like Hearthstone. So if you want to play Overwatch, you log in. You can play a few games. You can join up with friends currently playing because matches.
You can drop out mid-match.
Well, you can, but then it disbands your party. But let's say I have 4 people in a party, and you want to join. You right-click my name, click Join Game. You'll spectate, but matches only last between, 2 to 8 minutes tops. And I'll invite you to the party, and then you're in for the next match. So you don't end up waiting a long time to get into your matches, and that's kind of nice. Compared to like MOBAs where matches are like 30 or 40 minutes, it can take a while to get into. Yeah. The pace is fast. So like I play Hearthstone with Mike sometimes, but like games take 20 or 30 minutes and there's a lot of time thinking about your cards or whatever. Like this is very like ADHD in a way. Right. Yeah, it's good. I'm having a blast playing it. And I've actually just started to slow down playing it because I want to be excited to play it when it actually launches and not be burnt out on the thing.
Plus, your guy's going to get wiped anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's like, I don't care about that. Like, because the game, like all the stuff that's
more about the experience. It's like if my Rocket League player got wiped, I wouldn't give a shit.
No, because it's just, there's no progression for anything relevant in terms of power or anything like that. So, and you know what, like, honestly, McCree, like, I really liked, he has 1,000, we call it overbucks, because if you get duplicates in your box, you get like dust like you do in Hearthstone. We've been calling it overbucks, and I saved up 1,000 to buy a legendary skin for McCree, and then I decided I didn't like it, so I'm just using his base skin because it's way cooler anyway. I'm just like, like that's the other thing is that like the skins change up the fantasy a little too much of some of these guys, where they just look cool already as their base skins. So, yeah,
sweet. That sounds
good to me. I'm trying to predict
me.
who you might like. I feel like you might dig Lucio. He's just really funny.
I like the sounds of McCree, honestly. Sounds like John Marston style from Red Dead Redemption.
The game is super... everything riffs on a trope from like everything. It's hilarious.
That's cool. Like, I mean, it does appeal for sure.
I think you'll like Soldier 76. He's basically Batman.
Multiplayer only games are always a harder sell for me. I just want that single player experience sometimes with my time, but as soon as I start on one of them, I generally will keep coming back to it.
Here's what you can do. We talked about this earlier. There will be an open beta. Try the game. I'll make it.
Yeah, no, I will try it. I am committed to to playing that one of the Blizzard games. The more I think about Heroes Heroes of the Storm, the more I'm just like, I just don't have enough interest to play that one. But Overwatch is more my jam. So
we had Al try Heroes of the Storm with us, a friend of ours, Al.
Yeah.
And he played a few games, but really there's an investment in playing a MOBA. Like you have to
learn
get your
role.
ass beat, and then you're gonna have to learn to get better. And just that loop needs to reward you. If you're not interested in that, a casual game of Heroes is just gonna make you feel bad, or League or Dota.
What's the matter, noob? Why aren't you healing? Where are the heals?
Well, yeah. Anyway, people aren't that toxic in Heroes compared to other ones, but still, it's you have to enjoy it. I think some people, the pace is just too slow, and it's you have to invest in wanting to understand what's going on. And I know you, Crofton, that's just not a. If you can't immediately shoot something or troll something, you're not interested in playing.
Potentially.
Or have sweet graphics and sweet narrative. Like, I know your tastes. But I think you will like Overwatch. I can't wait for you to play it with me.
Speaking of sweet graphics, the game I'm playing right now is one that came out last January, like pretty much just a bit over a year ago. But they just put out an expansion for it. It's called Dying Light, and it's a zombie parkour game for survival / story. And it's funny because it came out and the reviews were decent for it. Some people gave it really high reviews. Some people gave it fairly low. There's some in the middle. And but as time went on, a lot of people said, I'd listen to these podcasts, and there was a lot of people that would call in during the Game of the Year things. They'd call in and say, hey, Dying Light, you're forgetting about it because it was all the way back in January, but that game stayed with me or whatever. Yeah. So there's a cult following to it, and it honestly, those zombie games are something that I have a soft spot for. I don't know why they're so popular. Maybe like I like watching The Walking Dead as much as the next guy, but like there's never been DayZ, Bo. I'd always complain to you about it being in early access for fucking ever. I still haven't played it.
I need to play it. Don't remind me.
Yeah, but see, it's like I've read enough stuff that it doesn't appeal. Because what I want that sweet zombie survival, plus I want super sweet gameplay, and often those two don't mash up. State of Decay was a series I really liked because it had that survival thing, and there was a couple of like special moves you could do. It felt kind of satisfying, but this trumps it, man. This is like a triple A game in the Far Cry mode in many ways. So like you have an open world somewhat to explore, but it's made by a different developer, Techland, who made these Dead Island games that I also own but never played. Thanks a lot, Steam.
Oh, really? But they're the Dead Island guys.
But it's really, it's a lot slicker. I know there's bugs and stuff, but it feels pretty slick when you're playing it. And the gameplay is really, really fun. And most importantly, and this is something that hadn't happened to me in a long time in playing a game, scary. It's like scary, okay? Because first off, I'm playing it on hard. And I put 20 hours into it so far. When you play on hard in games now, for me it's a bit of a crapshoot. It's either going to be super satisfying or it's going to be too hard. This is like right on the line between super satisfying and too hard. I die a lot, and you get penalized for dying. Like there's like you lose survivor points and stuff, and it can affect. You're trying to level up your survivor ranks. If you keep losing points, it can screw you. So that, because there's consequence for death already, there's suspense. But then they have this day-night cycle, and it's not like fast, so you don't have to worry about it too much. It's kind of a good length of time. But like you'll be out in the city, and it's dangerous. It's fucking hard. The sun's beating down. It's sort of a Turkish type city. You're learning new moves. You're leveling up your guy. You're doing parkour. You're trying not to get caught by zombies, because honestly, the zombies in this game are really tough, especially at the beginning, because like you can craft weapons and stuff and do certain amounts of damage to them, but like it takes a lot. But once you learn some tricks and some special moves and you use the environment, but it's more like how I'd imagine it would be hard to kill a zombie, because zombies are already dead, man. It's not like unless you really do some big damage to their head or something, make it pop. Like you're not gonna like kill a zombie easy. So Bo, I think you're on mute.
Are they aggressive? Am I? No, I'm
oh no, sorry.
Are they aggressive?
They're super
zombies?
Aggressive.
Yeah, so like they're the more 28 Days Later style zombies, and
well, here's the thing: is that there's the different types of zombies. There's the slow meandering ones that are still aggressive if you're anywhere near them, especially in a tight space, and they're tough. Then there's what are known as virals, and they're people who've been recently turned. And not only are they the 8 days later, like run sprinting right at you once, but they can like parkour up things and climb up things, and they're like little spider monkeys, and they're scary as shit because they can take quite a beating and they can do a lot of damage to you. And one of the buttons that you have is a look behind button, so you'll be running and it's like you look behind your guy or whatever, and it freezes it a bit. It puts it in slow motion a little bit.
Okay.
But you'll see like these giant monsters like just right behind you, jumping at you. You're like, oh fuck, I gotta run, you know. Like, and so it's pretty scary. And that's not even talking about nighttime. So when night falls, there's these super zombies that are released, and you get double XP and double powers for surviving the night. So there's an incentive to be out at night, and there's some missions, both optional and main story ones, that involve you having to go out at night. I almost always try to avoid going out at night because these things will ream you. And so the only thing you can really do, like you can see their field of vision a bit if you use certain senses or skills, but like you don't want to like be caught by one of these guys. You'll hear their guttural roar and then they will friggin' charge you, and you're pretty much dead unless you run like a motherfucker. And then you run and you get to a safe spot and you'll get bonus points for having eluded them. But it also, the darkness is pretty pitch black, and you have a light on your hat that you can turn on. And so like you'll be walking around and you'll be like, oh my god, please no zombies. and then you'll turn around and there'll be regular zombies, and you've got like maybe a gun with a bullet. But if you shoot them, it's going to for sure draw the super one. So you're like taking your bat, you're trying to beat their head or whatever without making too much noise. And then you're fighting this one zombie, and he's about to kill you, but instead you kill him, and you feel so good. And you're like, oh, thank God. And then you hear the guttural yell, and you hit the look behind button, and you see on top of like the building next to you is this crazy zombie. You're like, oh, I got to get out of here. And then you run like crazy. So it's all super. It all comes together super well. There's lots of scavenging and crafting, but like done in a very sort of fun way. There's tons of side quests. The main story is pretty good too, if a bit tropey. So all of that is awesome. And on top of that, there seems to be, and I turned it off because I didn't want people jumping into my game, but there is like a multiplayer element. Where you can, there's a mode called Be the Zombie, where supposedly you can go into somebody's game and play as one of these killer zombies and try and track them down and kill them or something. I didn't want anybody doing that in my game, so I turned that off. But there's also like co-op, where you can go out and you can do the missions and you can do stuff together with a friend. And honestly, I don't know what the limitations to it may be. I remember when I played Far Cry 4 with Jeff, some of the limitations were kind of annoying to what you could do cooperatively. But it would be really fun because, man, it is a dangerous-ass game in which you die a lot and you are constantly scared. So having somebody else, like being two people and you're runners, like running missions together and stuff like that, I mean, would be pretty fun, I think. So that's something that I'll be tempted to maybe get online after I maybe beat the story or get further along. I know I'll be playing it for a while and I'll talk about it again, so I don't want to blow my load too much on this, but it's pretty awesome.
You sort of pointed this out, I think, at the beginning, but like the game got a free giant update because it's now referred to on Steam as Dying Light: The Following.
Oh, The Following is the expansion pack.
But
like came out.
It's it seems like it's it isn't free.
I don't think it's free. It's an expansion. Yeah.
Oh, package that if you don't own the game, it just costs the price of the game. Like buying Dying Light: The Following Enhanced Edition includes Dying Light Survival Bundle, Dying Light: The Following, Dying Light: The Following Enhanced Edition.
Yeah, I bought Dying Light on sale last year at the same time I bought Metal Gear Solid, so the following wasn't out at that time.
Yeah.
What the following does is it adds a new area, because there's supposedly a second area I haven't even got to yet. I'm still in the first area, and I've already spent a lot of time there and enjoyed it. But there's a second Old Town area that has more verticality, higher buildings, supposedly. You get a grappling hook and some other things that are going to change up gameplay a bit. But the following is outside of the city, and it adds vehicles like cars and stuff that you can drive around in. Part of me thinks that wouldn't work very well, but all the reviews say that it does, so I'm going to take their word for it. I don't know though. Like I'm 20 hours into this game, and I'm still not out of the first area, and I have tons of subquests. I feel by the time I finish it, I'm not necessarily going to want to buy the following. Like, it's a lot of content already, but we'll see. I'm loving it so far. Like, I'm really having a good time playing it. So,
well, I added it to my wish list. Sounds like it's up my alley. Actually, I kind of like.
I think you would. I definitely do think you would like it. You can get good at playing it too, which is fun. Like, you can get more skilled. You can find out tricks. The tricks kind of make sense in the world of the game. Like, and the upgrades that you get for your character often give you tangible new skills that will that feel satisfying when you add them to your ever-growing bag of tricks. So for me, it's good. I see where some of the reviews tempered the positivity with some criticisms. I could see why they did. But for me, like, the fact that it's up my alley negates a lot of what they're saying. And some of the mission design can be frustrating. I understand what they're saying. Like, sometimes you end up going, they put like the most dangerous zombies in a room, and you're stuck in this little room with them, and it's a game based on parkour, and it seems like a poor design choice sometimes, but really, it's hard to lament that when you're just pissing yourself out of fear, and then you're like, oh, I gotta get out, and then you get out and you're so happy. So, like, I feel like they knew what they were doing, and it's not as poor a design choice as some of these reviews say. So, yeah, good game, for sure. I'll have more thoughts, because I'm sure I'll be playing it. Well, maybe we're now bi-weekly with this show, so maybe I'll be done, but I don't think so.
Well, all right. That's the Dying Light report, brought to you by Crofton.
Dying Light's sweet.
Now we're gonna do something a little different. You want to cue us up?
Oh yeah. So we missed a dialogue tree last week. So we would like to have a little chat on a topic that's been eating us inside. So without further ado, here's the dialogue tree.
Now there's one fine dialogue tree. Yeah, so welcome to the Dialogue Tree, where we take a topic and discuss it. This week, what we actually wanted to discuss last week, but didn't have time, is where did the MMOFPS go? Now, many people, I don't think, have played an MMOFPS. I feel like there are a lot of people who might not have. And to be clear, we're not counting what might be like always online instance content that have large amounts of players, Overwatch being an example, or like Team Fortress 2, or even Battlefront for that matter, doesn't really count as an MMO FPS. The key thing about an MMO is that it's a massively multiplayer online space that people share, that being the qualifier. Now, I think the biggest game that comes to mind would be PlanetSide and PlanetSide 2 if you're looking for an example of an MMO FPS, i.e. a world in that you inhabit and that you do the mechanics of the game in. I think there was one in development called Huxley that never made it out, that was like a Korean thing. There could be some others. Certainly there have been a lot planned in development and not like realized. And there are a lot of shooter type games like Destiny, for example, that feel like they're heavily online spaces and multiplayer games. Borderlands, The Division as well. It seems like it's not an MMO FPS, although I'm wondering about this Dark Zone in The Division, if it's instance content or massively online. But clearly there is no MMO FPS right now that I think is tops. And we want to know what happened to it, because as a PlanetSide player, I always thought this was a fantastic idea.
I think what it always struggled with was two things. One was computer performance or console performance in the time. You needed a sizable amount of horsepower to run an FPS with so many players. Aside from that, I think people were used to, especially at the time of the original Planet side, the feedback of victory and defeat. Like, you know what, you played Overwatch, and you're talking earlier about your animation of when you win, and your move of the match and all that. There's some resolution there. Like, it's over and you move on. One of the big criticisms of both Planet Side 1 and 2 was that the war is never ending, and so like you would take a base and you log, you come back, it's lost again, and what does it mean? What does it mean long term? There's no like score sheet that comes up. I know that when we would play these games, we would have our own sort of internal score sheet, be like, what's your kill death ratio, or like, how does it compare to your best, or how does it compare to your friends? But this is stuff that we made up to give ourselves sort of like that rewarding sensation that people get from games of Call of Duty when they finish and they see their name at the top of the leaderboard and all this. They won that game. You know, I scored a hat trick in my game of Rocket League. I won the game of Rocket League, but what if that game just never ended? The gameplay's still the same. It's really fun. I kick the ball, I score, but then it just never stops. There's never a whistle or whatever. It's like, as soon as it's like 35-2 or then I quit. I come back the next day and it's now 117-12 or whatever. Like, I don't know. Like that, I could see that being a limitation to the appeal of an MMOFPS.
Yeah, I feel it's a question of I think what are you doing in an FPS? Like, FPSs are noted for being like shooting games. Like,
yeah, you shoot a dude in the face,
or you swing a sword in the case of like Elder Scrolls. But like FPS, one key word being the S, which is shooter. You know, you're developing an online world, and yet it has to be first person. And one of the big obstacles, I think, is that like a lot of an element to massively multiplayer online games is an element of your doll's house. I'm not sure what the term is, but you've got a character and you dress them up in clothes, and you're expressing your own individuality.
You're living an online life.
Yeah, in that person. And FPS kind of undermines that a bit because, you know, we played PlanetSide a long time. You did have an appearance, but you barely saw it, and it wasn't that distinct. Like, basically, you could be a white guy, another white guy, a black guy, a Latino guy, and I think an Asian guy. Like, there was like 5 faces to choose from or something like that. And you wore a helmet mostly, but if you got command rank 5, I think you could take your helmet off. And so like the individuality wasn't really there, and wasn't even there in its sequel too. Like they didn't, PlanetSide 2 didn't spend much time on what you looked like. What you had was what your name is for your online space, which is really different than an actual MMORPG, where even if the options are limited, you do have some ways to, you know, express yourself, especially in Korean MMOs, where like that new one people are talking about, Soul and Blade or something like that, where like basically it's like super misogynistic. Basically the women are well endowed and like wear bikinis. It's like it's the current hotness in Korean MMOs. But for FPS, like there is a lack of that. Like, why would you develop so many assets for that when you're never going to look at it, and people are shooting you so fast that they don't really pay attention to it?
It's a good point, but I think that what happens is if you look at an MMO now, like not an MMO FPS, like a traditional RPG, it's become more of a niche thing. At one point when I was working at Ubisoft in 2004, it was the hotness in PC. Everybody wanted an MMO. Everybody did. This was before World of Warcraft came out. And then when World of Warcraft came out, it just capitalized that market. But since then, like, everything's been going free to play. People think that that's the future, but really there's a very limited amount of these traditional MMO MMOs in development. In fact, you're seeing instead games that, like Bo mentioned, we're talking MOBAs, we're talking instanced games, we're talking games like Destiny or what is it, the Division, that have like, that collecting element and certain customization element, but at the same point are not zillions of players. I kind of feel like that moment is past, because there's still Battlefield, which has always had these 20 on 20 or whatever, these huge sized matches, but then they end, there's a winner, there's a loser, whatever, you go up ranks a la Call of Duty and this sort of thing. Those still exist. I don't know what it's going to take. I think it's going to take more than just sizzling hot graphics, really neat gameplay, really neat shooting mechanics and all that. It's going to need, for an MMOFPS to come in and be successful, it's going to need that carrot that keeps people coming back. Because like you did a really good job of explaining Overwatch's carrots earlier. And I can understand why someone would want to play that. And get those loot drops. Oh, you finish a mission, you get a loot. You might have not have even finished first, but you leveled up in that match, so you get a loot drop, and then you get some new stuff. Oh, and then the next match you finish first, and they show this cool animation, and then you got to play the game. Like, I understand all the little carrots, and they keep you invested and interested. But for an MMOFPS, yes, you have these, I call them golden moments, where it's something awesome happens. It could only happen in a giant war. But at the same point, like, that's going to keep some people, but it's going to there's a lot of people that need a lot more than that to keep playing a game. And also, while I'm on this tirade about MMOFPSs involve collaboration. At least the ones I've played, they involve, because you're an army on an army. It's not just like five on five, and I'm sure playing games like that requires collaboration as well, like a game of 5 on 5, 10 on 10. But when you're these giant armies, like it can fall apart pretty quickly. Like you have these special abilities for commanders to be able to command, but why would I listen to them as a player? And then I want to do my own thing, and then I'm playing a support class, so maybe I'm supposed to heal a guy. But instead I see somebody I want to shoot in the head, so I don't heal the people I'm supposed to heal, and they get pissed off. Whereas a lot of what you're seeing now are games that allow you to play solo, and games that allow you to play with your buddies, but they're not so much interested in games that allow you to play with a ton of strangers. We've moved away from that, I think.
Yeah, and it's hard to find, because there are a lot of third-person MMOs that have come out, and I think they have their mediocre fan bases. Like Defiance was one, and Firefall was another one. Like but they all emphasize that they're shooters, but that they're third-person. The Division's like this too, which really takes away from the FPS style gameplay. And I think PlanetSide 2, like having played it now, I think I spent 500 hours in it. It really feels like half-baked, pretty much. Like they nailed it in certain aspects, and then they missed out on the like it's almost like they just cut off development at some point, and we got the player studio, but we didn't get like a refinement on the look and feel of the world. And certainly the updates were, given that the way the plan was going is that it's free to play and that they'd add content, it feels like the world is like not done. And then the emphasis also was on the more shootery mechanics rather than the MMO feel. Like what made the original PlanetSide so good was that it felt like a world, and it felt like what you did mattered in that world. And I think the MMO FPS is kind of dead.
Well, see, that's it. The only two that we keep harping on are PlanetSide and the sequel. I remember you mentioned Huxley earlier. We were enthused for this game because it was another MMO FPS. We were interested in trying something new, but developers must know that it's a high risk, low reward return on investment, because you need strong servers and all that to keep everything running smoothly. What if it's a huge hit? You want to avoid lag. That's the most important thing in an FPS type game. I personally have a strong interest in playing an MMO FPS. Like, if there was a PlanetSide 3, I would be really excited. I would love to see a game company that actually has a pedigree and a sizable amount of money to spend and invest in like quality all around, develop an MMO FPS. Say what you want about Blizzard, but if Blizzard said tomorrow we're making an MMO FPS, you know that game would be polished, and that would be something that I would be interested interested in
There's
trying.
a lot of speculation that Overwatch rose from the ashes of Project Titan, which was a first-person shooter style MMO.
And they probably recognized that it was not a viable business model. And that Overwatch, I guarantee you, like, if they were between FPS and whatever Overwatch's genre is, I'm going to call it a first-person MOBA, even though that's probably inaccurate. They made the right call. For me, there's more of a chance of maintaining polish in something of that size. And gamer, I almost wonder, like, if you said, and maybe it doesn't make a difference, but everybody wants the sexy graphics, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants the hotness. They want the same level of graphic craziness that they have in a very structured single-player game, except they want it everywhere. But I almost wonder, like, if you said, okay, we're going to make graphics like, I don't know, Xbox 360 level graphics, or even older, like kind of shittier graphics, but it's going to be super polished or whatever, and it's going to allow us to make a really expansive game. If there would be any sort of appetite from that, like if the art style was nice or whatever, but it just wasn't, like, in terms of like super high res, I can see the grains of sand in my uniform type shit. Because I feel like that's partly what led to PlanetSide 2's downfall. The Daybreak Games, then Sony Online Entertainment, was not the biggest development studio to begin with, and then they were like, we're going to make hotness graphics, and that kind of limited their ability to make much else, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't see any way forward for MMOFPSs right now, but I know if one came out, it would be interesting to me, and I would give it a shot.
I always felt like one of the things missing from the first PlanetSide was a sense of world. Like, if even each faction had a faction leader that periodically sent communiques, like, in some fashion, like, just to make the world a bit more lived in. But I think that requires development time. I don't think they're making the kind of money to do that. But it's funny
because I know what you're saying, but at the same time, like, the first PlanetSide is likely my favorite game of all time. And so for me to hear any sort of criticisms leveled at it, even though I know that those criticisms are founded, I just think back to it and I'm like, no, it worked fine. Everything was good.
Not a criticism, just, things that I would have wished for,
I know you would have wished for that, and I remember you mentioning it, but I remember at the time being like, no, it's got to be player driven. Like, the fact that there was no NPCs, there was no anything, you use consoles. Like, that's why I kept talking about that immersiveness factor that it generated for me at the time, because, like, in other MMOFPSs, you go to the quest giver, he's got a big exclamation mark under his head, he sells you crap or whatever. There's always, like, you're killing all these mobs. In PlanetSide 1, there was nothing that wasn't human created that could move in the world, like, that was going around in the world. Like, there were only humans, and you could, if you needed gear or you needed anything, you'd go to a console, and then you would activate it, and then you would get that stuff, and then you would go out, and then you would get in your ship, and there would be a big animation of your dude getting in the ship, right?
To be clear, I don't want quest givers or vendors. I'm saying to have
leader. An NPC guy or whatever, even a staff member, be like, hey, it's Commander so-and-so or whatever, like, on the screen. I think Titanfall has tried to mix that, sort of had, like, the sort of screen where sort of like in the corner of your screen where you would get these sort of scripted things during the multiplayer. I've never played it. I'm not sure how well that went over, but for me, I really liked. I felt PlanetSide created this. The first one created this really huge sense of scope and world, while maintaining entirely human player base. Unfortunately, that's not sustainable because as soon as your players leave, there's nothing for the remaining players to do, and that's eventually what you run into, and you need these online only games. And I think even recent AAA games like Evolve came out last year. I think it's not doing super great. Rainbow Six Siege, I'm not sure how well that's going to do. But bottom line is it requires players. If people stop playing it, then that game is useless to you. Star Wars Battlefront, same deal. People stop playing that, there's nothing else to do there, right? So, well, that's a bad example. Well, there is one thing. You can do these missions and that. But, like, that's how MMOFPSs die.
But MMOs in general are also kind of suffering because they're big in scope. They require a lot of development. They need people to pay that monthly fee. And less people have an appetite to do that for games now. So
at one point they were major mad bank and everybody wanted them, and now they're financial liabilities.
Yeah, for the most part, because you could invest a lot of money and the people may not come. And then that's it. Goodbye money.
Well, if you have comments, and by you I mean the listeners, on MMOFPSs, have you played one? Was it PlanetSide? How awesome was PlanetSide? Tell us by sending us an email to exmpodcast@gmail.com. Or just, follow us on Twitter. Do that. Okay, before I get to giving all the deets of this show, because people, they love the deets. You never know. You have a first-time listener. They want to know where we exist on the internet. Sure. I have all that information. But before I give it to them, I'm going to give them something even more valuable, which is my recommendation on where they can spend their cash or vendor trash. Unfortunately, they're also going to get Bo's recommendation. So it's sort of a give or take type situation. And we call this situation inventory management.
Inventory management is a challenging and inexact science.
Good Lord, that took you a long time to say.
I know. I've been trying to make my intros as wordy as possible this episode.
We don't need them to be wordy.
So it's funny because after that dialogue tree, I just feel like making my recommendation PlanetSide 1, but God knows if anybody's still playing it. It's an awesome game.
It's still up. Actually, I'm changing mine because I think the one I put in there I used already.
Oh, no, I thought yours was neat. I liked how it was vendor trash for once.
Yeah, but except I think I vendor trashed it before.
Did you?
So and if I didn't, I'm going to save it and reuse it again, even though I used it already. I'm pretty sure we've talked about it. That much I do know.
So you're changing yours to PlanetSide? Yep. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. In honor of our PlanetSide heavy episode.
So you're saying PlanetSide 1 or PlanetSide both of them?
1. I recommend people go play 1 now. Maybe not for day. It's free to play, I'm pretty sure. Don't play it for weeks, but go in there and give it a shot because it's pretty cool. And just imagine more players in it because there's probably barely any players in it. But
you're probably getting graphics of like the first Deus Ex, like Thief type style graphics. So like they're crappy, but like it's got a kind of minimalistic art style. And the shooting is a bit wonky, but then you get used to it. Like, I mean, it's totally worth it. I don't know how this generation would.
The craziest thing about it actually is PlanetSide doesn't have aim down sights, right? You just shoot. Yeah. It's got a reticle that expands if you move around a lot. Overwatch doesn't have aim down sights, except the one character sniper. It actually has none of that business. Like modern shooters have aim down sights and like all guns. PlanetSide 2 even has it. Overwatch notably does not have it except one character on the sniper scope, and it's great without it. It's one of the craziest things. At first I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like it because there's no aim down sights. But once you get over it, you don't miss it. It's actually pretty cool. And PlanetSide 1 is the game that I loved, and it didn't have aim down sights in it either compared to 2. Just interesting.
Yeah. It's I wonder how it holds up. I really have like, what is it? Your memories are just like
you have rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, totally. I think that like I could still like place scenes of it in my mind, and like I have what happened on screen, but then I have what my imagination is representing. Like when we were holding a hack base, and like one of us is watching a door and the other's watching the other, and we're planting boomers and stuff like that, which are remote mines and such. And like you're looking at your radar and you're calling out stuff. In my mind, we are like literally there. We are like, I've never been more kind of like in a game as much as I am in those moments. Like I can feel the sweat on my palms. Feels like like really when I look at screenshots for it, I'm like, man, woo. It was definitely, a lot of it was colored by my imagination.
I might still have my old videos up on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah, you got to check that shit out. We can retweet them through the EXM account. So my game is actually another tribute, and it's to Lionhead Studios. It's Fable 2, my recommendation, and it would hold up much better, I think, than PlanetSide. It's an Xbox 360 game, so it's in HD. You have a dog in it. It's always good, and it's just like both Fable and Fable 2 had like sort of a whimsical quality. Hard to put your fingers on, and they rose in the era of hype, where games were starting to get hyped and their development was started to be followed in great detail by game journalists, and that continues today, where we talk about the 2-week delay of Uncharted. It's like in the rearview mirror, nobody cares about that shit. But both Fable and Fable 2, Peter Molyneux, he of the Golden Tongue, was selling people on all the features these games had. And in the end, they didn't have that many features, or a lot of things that he said were not in there. And so people had some poor reactions at the time. But honestly, both Fable 1 and 2 are really fun games. And my guess is Fable 2 would hold up particularly well, and that's why it's going to be my recommendation of the week. R.I.P. Lionhead Studios.
Aww. You sure you don't like 1 better than 2? I guess 2 is pretty good.
2 is my personal favorite, but I played 1 twice, and I've only played 2 once, so it could be that just maybe lack of overexposure or whatever. But no, 2 was it was a larger world, more to explore, more bonus stuff. I liked it. I also liked the gameplay. It actually felt pretty good, like the combat. I remember it felt good.
I found my PlanetSide videos, incidentally. I'm going to post them to YouTube. Or post them to Twitter.
He's also got sweet music with them.
One of them got overdubbed because the copyright thing happened. These were uploaded in like 2007, and like DMCA became a thing in the past 10 years.
So if you want to see Bo's sweet videos, you can either try to find them on YouTube. Good luck. Or you can follow us on Twitter at EXM Podcast. You can also like us on Facebook, facebook.com/EXM Podcast. Visit our site, exmpodcast.com, and check out all our wonderful content, which is mostly podcast episodes. But they're awesome. You can subscribe on iTunes or on Stitcher. Give us some reviews. We would love your reviews. We would love your feedback on the show. We'd love to hear what you guys want to hear about. We love talking about games, but we're always open to your sweet, sweet feedback. Finally, actually, I'm going to plug something right now, which is our other podcast, Good, Bad, or Bullshit. GoodBadBull.com.
Bullshit.
So yeah, good, bad, or bullshit. We look at a random topic every week, decide if it's good, if it's bad, or it's bullshit. Bo and I are joined by a third gentleman. He's not as good, but whatever. You live with it. My name is Crofton Steers. You can follow me online at Crofton Steers. And Bo, I'm going to guess that if you post some of these videos, you may post them through your personal account as well. And what would that personal account be?
At Bo Schwartz, BAUSCHWARTZ. My name. I got my name. I wish I had at Bo, actually. Now that I'm more of a Twitter user, I realize just having at Bo would have been way better. But I'll take Bo Schwartz.
Yeah, I guess I'll take at Crofton Steers.
Yeah, and you have it. That's where people can find you.
It's true. It's where people find me every day.
Nice job.
So just before we leave everyone, we're going to do our show closer, sometimes known as the Mastergame Theatre quote of the week.
Oh shit. I was watching video. It's now time for Mastergame Theatre. What a lack of professionalism.
It is a lack of
Unbefitting
professionalism.
of the
I'm
Mastergame
disgusted.
Theatre. Yeah.
So this week's quote of the week is from a very famous game that we have not talked about this episode at all. However, it's still a game that will be on our radar in the next little while because they are remaking it. It's called Final Fantasy VII. This is a quote from Cloud Strife, which I would note it has not been voice acted previously. So, Bo, would you like to take a stab at voice acting this quote in any way that you would choose?
I don't even know how to do that. Now that you mentioned it, I realize this line. I see, because I want to start pulling quotes from games that are iconic that might not have voice acting. Like Final Fantasy VII is a big one.
Yeah.
What is his voice? I feel like he sounds kind of girly.
Sounds emo.
All right, so Cloud Strife, Final Fantasy VII.
Was it? I don't even remember where this takes place, but it's before you leave Midgar. Okay, Bo. Without further ado, 3, 2, 1. Thanks for listening, folks.
No one lives in the slum because they want to. It's like this train. It can only go where the tracks take it. All right. That's the end of the show. If you tuned in to the live stream, thank you for hanging out. And if you're watching the VOD, thumbs up. We love you. Again, check us out at exmpodcast.com. Contact us. We want to read your shit on the air. So send us your stuff. Sarcastic_IT in the chat channel says, can I ask a question? You can, but we don't respond to the chat room. We just kind of record this to do a VOD and have it up on Twitch. Email us. Crofton gave the email, exmpodcast@gmail.com, or tweet at us at exmpodcast. EXM Podcast everywhere. And then you can be on the show.
I would mention, though,
the audio show is cut now.
If you are listening on the chat and all that sort of thing in the future, then feel free to write your comments in the chat. Like if you have a question, can't guarantee we'll answer it, but if it's on topic, we may be able to work it into what we're saying. So
that's true. If something's on topic, we will work it in. But
keep it on topic.
We're performing and not necessarily interactive streaming. At least till the end, when we try to grab a few questions at the end.
Right on.
All right. Bye, everyone. Have a great gaming week. See you in 2.